dinner with him last week. He's hardcore homeless and diagnosed with schizophrenia. So I really want to thank you for really caring about your community, caring about the humanity.
My name is Julianne Todd.
Julianne?
It may be a long, dark, cold night for the volunteers, but there is a bright light on the horizon. The last homeless census in 2011 saw a drop in homeless residents of about 2,000. Organizers hope they see another drop this year as they continue to target homeless services in areas where it is most needed.
There you go. There's your gift card.
I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The LA County Homeless Census covered the larger LA metro area and areas as far out as the Antelope Valley and San Gabriel Valley. We will report on the results of this year's homeless count on the next episode of LA This Week. The film and television industry and bright Hollywood lights have long been LA's calling card, but in the last few years, that calling card has oftentimes been in name only, as Los Angeles continues to lose productions to other cities, states, and countries. Rasha Goel tells us about how industry insiders are hoping those in Sacramento can help.
Los Angeles has always been synonymous with lights, camera, action.
Not only is it good for our economy and jobs for our people, but the whole world loves us. They love Hollywood.
But keeping cameras rolling in Los Angeles or even the state of California has been a challenge. In fact, production figures for last year were still below levels seen prior to 2009.
So if that industry decides to do a major motion picture in another state or in another country when they could do it here, the city of LA would be losing not only employment of its residents, but literally millions of dollars as it relates to tax revenue and a variety of sources.
The concern over the loss of jobs and revenues is why city leaders recently adopted a resolution calling for the state legislature to extend the California Film and Television Tax Credit Program, due to expire in the 2014-2015 fiscal year. While the program offers producers a 20 to 25% tax credit towards qualified production costs, those in the film and television industry say that's just not enough.
About 4 years ago, the state finally came in with a tax incentive program of about $100 million, very limited resources and limited number of productions that can apply for that film incentive. New York, for example, offers $420 million, more than 4 times what California does. And they have stolen a great deal of work from the state.
This year, 21 out of 23 new television dramas have left California to shoot elsewhere. Even looking at this year's Oscar nominees, Argo was the only film to shoot here.
This is a totally mobile industry. We have the infrastructure, we have the crews, we have the locations. What we don't have is the financial incentives to keep that work in California.
It will take a little more than rolling out the red carpet to keep productions from leaving. From Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Now, while overall production figures in 2012 were down, on-location production in and around LA County actually saw an increase in 2012 compared to the previous year, thanks to the filming of sitcoms and commercials. A young man was shot and killed at a park late last summer while he sat on a park bench. Now, 4 months after his senseless murder, an improvement at the park that city leaders hope will prevent another similar tragedy from occurring there again. 6 newly installed cameras offer a constant 360-degree view of South LA's Jackie Tatum Harvard Park at 1535 West 62nd Street. While these cameras, which can pan and record, had been in the works for quite some time as part of the park's overall improvement project, at Councilman Bernard Parks' urging, they were finally approved by the City Council 3 days after 19-year-old Patrick Carruthers was shot at the park.
I'm glad that the cameras are up. My only remorse is that they weren't in place prior to my son's murder, and I hope that no one else experiences this tragedy.
Carruthers was at Harvard Park on Tuesday, September 25th, 2012, sitting on a park bench listening to music in broad daylight, waiting to begin his shift as a volunteer for the city's Summer Night Lights anti-gang program, when a male suspect approached him and shot him multiple times in the back.
So he'll come in the morning and work with us, getting here at 7 o'clock. We finished summer camp at 6. He'll take off his shirt and work from 7 to midnight for the SNL program. all day just volunteering his time.
The case remains unsolved. The city is offering a $50,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest and conviction.
Use our parks. Enjoy the parks. Treasure the parks. Don't make these parks what they have become. And that's a place where people come and do undesirable things.
The head of the city's park system, John Kirkmuckery, pleads with the community to help reclaim their parks while law enforcement officials continue the work of finding the man who pulled the trigger to find justice for Patrick.
We're going to place this in the park so people know forever that these cameras are in Patrick's honor.
Thank you. If you have any information on this case, you are urged to call LAPD's 77th Criminal Gang Homicide Division at 213-485-1383. A heartfelt tribute here in Los Angeles for a facility that helped patients dying of AIDS at a time when those patients had nowhere else to go. Rasha Goel reports.
A crowd gathered for a sunset memorial ceremony at what used to be Chris Brownlee Hospice in Elysian Park. The facility cared for over 1,000 patients from 1988 to 1996 who were in the final stages of AIDS.
Let's bow our heads for 1 second and think of everybody we know that has passed through our life that has died from AIDS.
This was really a joyful place. This is really about living more than it was about dying.
The 25-bed hospice was the first AIDS hospice in California. It was named in honor of AIDS activist and co-founder Chris Brownlee, who died from the disease a year after the hospice opened.
It's a very memorable place for a lot of people here that have had their last moments here spent with us, and it just means a lot to us employees.
I'm very pleased that it's closing because that tells us that this terrible disease is coming to a close, that we're able now to take care of those who are infected with HIV. Where back in 1990, it was truly a death sentence. There was no cure, there was no taking care of you.
After 1996, the building served as headquarters of AIDS Healthcare Foundation's Public Health Division, which transitioned from hospice care to an AIDS service organization.
The history behind Chris Brownlee, it gives me great joy to know that this is all happening for a great cause, and you know, it's bittersweet.
I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The building is now turned over to the city of Los Angeles. Meanwhile, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation's Public Health Division that took over the hospice in 1996 has relocated to another part of the city. It's a water reclamation plant that combines wastewater treatment with the earth-friendly beauty of a Japanese garden. And now the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation and Recycling Plant in the Valley will get a new and much-needed addition. Anna Marcos takes us there.
For many years, the Japanese garden at the Tillman Water Reclamation Plant has provided scenic beauty and a place to contemplate, while the plant nearby has given Angelenos recycled water and a place to learn about water conservation and the environment.
1, 2, 3.
City leaders have broken ground on a new multi-purpose building. It will be an educational center for the public, an administrative center for the staff, and headquarters for volunteer docents.
It's a building that's been needed for so long.
I promised myself and I promised the community, as long as I'm a councilman, before I stop being a councilman, we're going to make sure that this project is committed. And we were able to do that just a few months ago.
This is the ceremonial headwaters of the LA River. We supply a great deal of the water that goes in the LA River from this very facility.
This will be an earth-friendly building meeting Gold LEED standards, one of the highest environmental ratings.
It'll be very energy efficient. It'll reuse water. It'll have the best lighting. There's a whole host of things that will be done in the building.
Finally, I've been a docent 15 years, and all 15 years we've been talking about when we have our own building with our gift shop in permanent headquarters and so on. This is wonderful.
The building is set to be completed in August of 2015. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant opened in 1984 and treats 80 million gallons of wastewater a day. The agency that oversees LAX is trying to get the word out to travelers about modernization efforts underway at the Bradley International Terminal. But as Yana Kay explains, city officials are questioning just how wisely money is being spent on this PR campaign.
Getting in and out of LAX can be a challenge for travelers, especially during construction. So airport officials want to keep people informed about what they can expect during the $1 million Bradley Terminal makeover currently underway. Airport officials say the best way to spread the news is by hiring public relations agencies to help get the word out. But not everyone is on board with that plan. City officials want the airport to explain why it chose to award nearly $4 million in communications contracts to agencies outside of the city of Los Angeles instead of using local ones. The contracts were awarded to 3 agencies for 3 different purposes. One agency would handle public education, another would do media buys, and a third would handle video production. Councilmember Bill Rosendahl and others say every dollar spent needs to be scrutinized.
It's about transparency and openness, and where I'm coming from, it's about using our money in a proper way so that regionalism happens.
Instead of hiring these outside agencies, opponents of the airport's $4 million public relations campaign say the money should be used to improve airport security, traffic flow, and to promote the smaller Ontario airport.
The fact that you could go to Ontario and you have a lot of deterioration there, the fact that it's not what it should be, the fact that you have more police officers at Burbank Airport per capita than you do at Ontario is really sickening.
For their part, council members say they're concerned that the contracts were decided by the Board of Airport Commissioners with no public input.
We selected the firms that we recommended the award to. It was on consent, as I said, because I think the board was comfortable with what we were doing.
Several companies that are based in the city of Los Angeles did make bids for the contracts, but did not get selected. Council members plan to find out why. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Airport officials said that while 2 out of the 3 chosen companies aren't from Los Angeles, they are based in LA County. It's the kind of event LA city leaders welcome to LA's convention center in the hopes of pumping much-needed dollars into the economy. This year, the LA Art Show hit town bigger and better than ever, drawing some 50,000 visitors from around the world. But who's looking at dollars? Let's look at art. Here's Anna Marcos.
If ever there was a place to see art on walls, this is where you want to do it. Once a year, the LA Art Show sets up house at the LA Convention Center, bringing thousands of pieces of art together. Paintings, prints, posters, sculptures, even famous masterpieces, and all with an international twist.
There are 14 countries represented here at the LA Art Show. And what makes that very interesting is that you can come here and see the world's take on art today.
There's a modern and contemporary section, a historic section, an area with prints and maps from times as far back as Christopher Columbus, and a China fusion section where East and West collide.
You might see in this exhibition, you'll see something that looks very, very Asian looking, but done in a Western techniques.
$875,000 for this thing? It sounds like a lot, but not when you consider this is the work of famous artist John Chamberlain. You can actually get works of art here that cost anywhere from $500 to $1 million. So who would actually buy this stuff? We thought we'd find out.
I'm a regular old person who collects art and goes to a lot of shows of art.
Could you spend $1 million?
No.
I'm a picture framer. Sometimes I buy, other times I just going to come and look what is the new techniques.
I'm from San Diego, and I'm just here to enjoy the art, the aura of art.
I am a regular kid, but I like art also.
I'm actually a photographer, and I actually enjoy shooting the people that come to art shows.
Art can change the world. Art can change your lives.
Show organizers estimated as much as $50 million in creative goods changed hands during the 5-day show. And all that art on gallery walls has now become art in someone's living room. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The LA Art Show is owned by the Palm Beach Show Group out of Florida. And this next story is also about art. It's about how art can be integrated into a student's overall education at the LA Unified School District. Yana Kay tells us about the Arts Matter campaign.
Recognize this man? He's director George Lucas at 18 years old, and his photo is one of several others that's part of the Arts Matters campaign being launched at the Los Angeles Unified School District.
It's important that we have initiatives like this, an initiative that will help to create professional development for arts programs, really provide a boost to getting teachers and schools and communities focused on the arts and what arts education can do.
The Arts Matters campaign seeks to increase arts programs in LA schools through fundraising and public art exhibitions, as well as introducing kids to cultural facilities around the city. LA Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa joined school officials and others to present MTA bus ads promoting Arts Matters and to unveil childhood photos of great creative thinkers such as Tom Cruise, John Legend, James Cameron, and others to inspire kids to also think outside the box.
We also know from study after study that arts education enhances creativity, it engages students in a very unique way that fosters learning, it encourages collaboration, creative problem solving, skills that are going to be necessary to compete in this 21st century economy.
The LA Fund for Public Education kicked off the Arts Matters campaign last year to provide teacher training on how the arts can be integrated into the curriculum. The theme of the campaign is Learn to Dream and seeks to get as many people involved as possible to engage kids in art.
And what a beautiful gift we offer the students of LA today in asking them to be part of the energy of dreaming.
Officials are hoping this campaign will help students do exactly that, dream big and reach for the sky. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Artwork from the Arts Matter campaign can be seen on 12 city buses, 175 billboards, and more than 270 additional pieces of public artwork. It was a tradition started 4 years ago when President Obama first took office, the National Day of Service. The day committed to volunteerism is meant to honor the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Locally, one popular family destination benefited from the service of volunteers on this National Day of Service.
This woman means business as she gets down on her knees to clean out trash from beneath this train. And this little girl is taking the job of dusting very seriously. They are just two of 50-some volunteers who descended upon the Traveltown Museum at Griffith Park to help spruce up the property and its trains.
I'm here to kind of give back. My son is up there, and he's 7, and I've been bringing him here since he was like 2. And we always just had the best time walking in and out of the trains.
We get a lot of resources from the city, from the different locations that we have throughout the city, and just give a few hours of your time.
Volunteers cleaned, swept, and scrubbed the museum from top to bottom as part of President Obama's National Day of Service initiative.
This year, President Barack Obama, for his inauguration, had a whole website set up encouraging all Americans to go out and volunteer for a day of service. So I was able to register us on that website, and I immediately got 50 people signing up saying they were coming out.
The museum was still open to the public, so visitors that day were the lucky beneficiaries of a spick and span Traveltown museum.
I think that the people who are here like it and stuff, and they want to give back to it as a way of saying thank you. And that's what we are doing right now.
A day of service that serves to remind those, young and old, the value of an honest day's work.
Mayor Villaraigosa applauds the bipartisan immigration proposal coming out of Washington. A boy shares his experience taking part in a mentoring program, and voters will decide the fate of the city's medical marijuana dispensaries. These stories and more in City Beat.
The Los Angeles City Council has given final approval to placing a pair of initiatives on the May 21st ballot regulating medical marijuana dispensaries. One measure proposes limiting the number of dispensaries to around 100 in the city. The other measure would allow an unlimited number of dispensaries so long as their sales taxes are increased. The council has also given preliminary approval to a measure coming out of the city council that reduces the number of dispensaries in the city while also increasing the business tax on pot sales. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa is calling the bipartisan immigration proposal unveiled by the U.S. Senate encouraging. In a written statement released by his office, the mayor says he believes legalization of one's residency status should be earned but not unattainable. The plan, crafted by 4 Senate Democrats and 4 Senate Republicans, prioritizes securing our nation's borders, but also allows for the estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants who live in the United States to qualify for permanent residency if they have no criminal background and if they can show a history of employment. LAN Airlines, which services South America, has temporarily suspended the operation of its 3 Boeing 787 aircraft in compliance with the recommendation of the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA made the announcement after several incidents aboard Dreamliners, including reports of smoke on an All Nippon Airlines 787. The Los Angeles International Airport had recently celebrated LAN Airlines as the first carrier to offer international service on the Dreamliner at LAX. In fact, the LAN Dreamliner, which took off from LAX a few hours before the FAA announcement, remains grounded in Santiago. The LA City Council recognized January as National Mentoring Month and invited some special guests to council chambers, including a young boy and his mentor from Jewish Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Greater Los Angeles.
My mom was an immigrant from Russia and we didn't have any family in this country. My mom was working hard to make our lives better and she wanted me to have a positive male role model in my life. She says that when she found Jewish Big Brothers and I started seeing Braden, it was a miracle.
After earning his trust, we now have a solid friendship and he is open to most of my advice and even laughs at some of my jokes.
3 other mentoring groups were also represented in council during the special proclamation: the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Greater Los Angeles, the Fulfillment Fund, and Catholic Big Brothers, Big Sisters. LA's top high school students are sharpening their wits in a sort of rehearsal for the upcoming LADWP Science Bowl, which will then prepare them for that largest science bowl in the country. Anna Marcos shows us the kind of mettle and brains it takes to be a science champ.
There's not a football anywhere in this line of scrimmage. No, only brainiacs line up for the scrimmage at the 20th annual LADWP Science Bowl.
Give the specific scientific term for the day when the North Pole is tilted farthest on its axis towards the sun. Incorrect.
We all pick 2 subjects each, our primary and secondary, and we all spend time studying together and we all help each other out, even though we have our own individual subjects.
Think of it as a giant trivia quiz on the latest math, science, and technology know-how. But it's just practice for the actual LADWP Science Bowl on February 23rd, when high school students from all over LA will compete for a chance to go on to the mother of all academic battles, the U.S. Department of Energy National Science Bowl in April. The U.S. government runs the competition in the hopes of creating tomorrow's science and technology geniuses.
In the beginning, it just sounded like fun, but over time I realized by doing Science Bowl, I was learning more and more science.
It encouraged even the top students to put in more study than they might not have done already. It also showcases their talent. It encourages students to participate and pursue courses in math, science, and technology so they would become engineers, scientists, people who work on computers in the future.
This year, LA's wannabe science champs will compete against 13,000 of the nation's brightest future Einsteins. But not to worry, LADWP Science Bowl students have won 4 national titles and placed in the top 5 11 times in the competition.
What is the most abundant polysaccharide on Earth? B3. Cellulose. Correct.
So these kids are hopeful the championship streak continues. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The LADWP is one of only 5 utility companies nationwide that serve as regional coordinators and sponsors. And in this week's list of things to do, snow days at the LA Zoo, adopt a pet in honor of My Furry Valentine, and a pancake breakfast to benefit a good cause.
Early weather reports predict a snowstorm at the Los Angeles Zoo and Botanical Gardens. Areas affected will be the habitats for the zoo's American black bear, Sumatran tigers, giant otters, harbor seals, and snow leopards. So mark the date on your calendar, Saturday and Sunday, February 9th and 10th, because the chilly conditions will only last throughout the weekend. The snow days at the zoo will go from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. both days. Don't miss this rare opportunity to view these creatures playing and exploring in a snowy winter wonderland. The LA Zoo is located at 5333 Zoo Drive. Go to lazoo.org for details. Join Ride On Therapeutic Horsemanship for their annual pancake breakfast and open house on Saturday, February 9th from 9 a.m. to noon. This fun, free, family-friendly event will include demonstrations by Ride On's talented students, highlighting the programs that Ride On provides. Ride On offers therapeutic riding and hippotherapy, that's physical therapy on horseback, for children and adults with physical and intellectual disabilities. Ride On Therapeutic Horsemanship is located at 10860 Topanga Canyon Boulevard in Chatsworth. For more information, call 818-700-2971. And Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and the perfect gift for your sweetheart may just be a four-legged friend from one of the city's animal shelters. LA Animal Services is holding a My Furry Valentine pet adoption event on Sunday, February 10th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at all of its animal shelters. You will receive a discount on pet adoption fees for adopting on that day. To find the shelter nearest you, go to laanimalservices.com. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do.
That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Այս մեծ քաղաքի երկայնքում ամեն ծագման ու զբաղման տեր տղամարդիկ ու կանայք գալիս են միասին որպես կամավորականներ Լոս Անջելեսի քաղաքացիներին օժանդակելու համար։ Նրանք ընտրատարածքի աշխատավորներն են։ Նրանք օգնում են քվեարկողներին ընտրության օրը բաշխելով քվեաթերթիկներ, պատասխանելով հարցերին եւ բացելով ու փակելով ընտրությունները։ Նրանք այդ չեն անում փողի համար, ոչ, ապա օգնելու ուրիշներին։ Եղեք ազնվագույն խմբի անդամ, ընտրատեղամասի աշխատողը, հաջորդ ամերիկյան հերոսը։
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Alacon, Mr. Paul Krikorian, and Mr. Zine, and Mr. Weezar. Sergeants, please call the members. Mr. Buscaino has arrived. Mr. Alacon, Mr. Englander, Mr. Weezar, Mr. Krikorian, Mr. Zine. I need a few more members. Again, Madam Clerk, Mr. Buscaino, you got it. You're on your toes. Mr. Labange. Okay, good morning. It's Wednesday, February 6th. I want to welcome everybody to your Los Angeles City Council. The council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Mr. Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Alarcon, Buscaino, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Carrasco, Corrigan, LaBonge, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zine, Wesson, 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Rosendahl moves, Zine seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Koretz moves, Weezer seconds.
Mr. President, before getting into today's agenda, there's been a request from member to continue item 2 to March 27. Again, item 2 to March 27.
Without objection.
Very good. Mr. President, items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing. Again, item 2 has already been continued. That leaves item 1, and there is a card.
Okay, then let's hold that.
Very good.
Let's move to the next section.
Items 3 through 12 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, members, items 3 through 12, specials. Mr. Parks.
Number 7 for Ms. Perry.
Okay, we'll hold number 7 for Ms. Perry. Members, any other specials? Any other specials? Okay, Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay.
And, Mr. President, unless reconsidered, the ORDs, which are items 3, 4, 5, and 6, will be reconsidered.
I understand. If we get to 12 members, then we will
Very good,
vote
sir.
on those ordinances. Okay, that brings us to items what?
13 and 14. There are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are before us. Do you have cards on those items?
Yes, sir. We have cards on both.
Okay, then we will hold those items. Next.
Mr. President, on the continuation agenda, item 15 is an item noticed for public hearing, and we do have a card in on 15.
Okay, we'll hold that item as well. So that brings us where?
That takes council back to items called special or public comment for items not on today's agenda.
All righty. Okay, let's go to item 1, which was held by cards. It's John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org, and Juan Tomato. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh. For identification purposes only. Anybody but Garcetti for mayor. He's not here. He shows up about 20 minutes.
Stay on the item.
20 minutes. Okay, this is number 1. This is a hearing protest for nuisance abatement costs. This, in other words, we have, if we were to total up the unpaid nuisance abatement costs in Hollywood, it would be close to $300 million. You are not doing your job on nuisance abatement, especially noise. You did catch somebody in East Montecito Drive for $4,897. I wonder what, that's a lien. And then in West Bellevue Avenue for $2,578. We'd like to know how these numbers are arrived at and what was the nuisance that was abated. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Yes.
I'll only speak 1 minute. He's absolutely right every time. Look at these liens on the people, You're not helping anybody with housing. You're actually obstructing justice, obstructing the people from getting fair housing. I don't know what turned you into public enemy number one, but you got 9 million houses empty all around the city. And you got millions and millions of homeless people all around
Mr. President, he's not talking about these
our
liens.
society. Oh, yeah. Yeah, lien for so much money. Lien for so much money. Lien for so much money. And what do you do to help the people clean up the city? Nothing.
Thank you. Okay, no more cards, no speakers in the queue. Let's prepare to vote on that item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Mr. Labange.
Could I introduce an old high school mate, if I
Go
would
right
there?
ahead.
From the great John Marshall High School, the quarterback of the 1966 Barristers, a great man who started the Griffith Park Action Council. Stand up and welcome John Rotundi. Good to see you, Johnny.
Now let's go to item 13. I have two cards on this, Dow House Dude and John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org, item 13.
Just for the record, Mr. President, there'll be a substitute ordinance making technical corrections to item 13.
Let's hold it then.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Check out our endorsements and vote. Anybody but Garcetti. This is my favorite. This is a number 13. We're talking about number 13. Traveling. What happened was the city attorney discovered incredible amounts of money that these people up here were spending on their trips to Sacramento. Thousands of dollars. They were eating lunches in the hundreds of dollars. If I'm wrong, correct me, because you correct me every time I'm wrong. So Carmen Trutanich, who will be reelected, Progressives for Trutanich, John Walsh, what he has done is amended the Article 4 of Chapter 5 of Division 4 of the Administrative Code to notify certain city officials prior to traveling. What he wants people to know, what he's doing here is saying he's laying down the law. If you do what you did before when you go to D.C., and when you go, these people up here, plus the mayor, plus Wendy Gruhl, I don't play any favorites, you're going to get in trouble. Now, this is checks and balances. Trutanich is cracking down on the money you are spending when you go up to Sacramento or to D.C. I was told there was a luncheon, it's one of the people who are here, in D.C. where they spent $1,800 on lunch. $1,800 on lunch. And that didn't close the bar bill. They actually tried to make us pay for the bar bill. Now, they're not going to speak about this, and Carmen Trutanich isn't going to be up here, but let me tell you, anybody would be better than
On
these
the
people
top,
up
on
here.
the item.
HollywoodHighlands.org. Would you like my extra 6 seconds for a rebuttal?
Mr. Dude.
I normally agree with Mr. Welch, but if Garcetti goes for solving the problem of housing, I'm for
On
Garcetti.
the item 13.
Oh, yeah, on the item. Money spent by city workers, is that anything new? They've been doing that since Roman times, and you're still doing it. And you'll keep on doing it because the people sit at home watching TV. They don't come here and pull your ears. They don't do that.
Mr. President,
so you
he's not
take
talking about
advantage
this
of
item.
that.
Mr. Dude, you have to try, at least give an attempt to stay on the subject.
It is.
No, it's a poor attempt. Stay on the item.
It's money ill spent, right? Thank you.
Okay, so on that item, we'll hold that.
Mr. President,
it's already been circulated?
The ordinance now has been circulated. It's stamped item 13.
Okay, let's vote on it then. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Can we move on item 15? So let's take up item 15.
And for item 15, Mr. President, there is a substitute motion, 15A, that is now before you. We should first vote to substitute the motion and then vote on the matter.
Okay, well, I have cards, and so we'll do the substitutions after the cards.
Very good, sir.
Okay, I'd like to call David Cato from LAPD, John Walsh, and Dow House Dude. Officer Cato, welcome.
Good morning, President Wesson. Good morning, members of the City Council.
And I see you have the captain with you.
Yes, I have Captain Tina Nieto from Olympic area also with me, and along with Sergeant Vincent from the Olympic Vice Unit. The LAPD is currently opposed to the renewal or issuance of any ABC license currently at this location at 3183 Wilshire Boulevard, and for these specific reasons. Currently, there are 14 ABC licenses within 1,000 feet of the 3183 Wilshire Boulevard, and also 11 special needs locations, meaning churches and schools within that site. Since the opening of the Fresh and Easy there, we had initially seen a decrease in crime, but slowly we saw an increase in crime due to some of the alcohol that is being sold at that location. Specifically, year to date since January 1st of this year, we have already had 13 crimes or calls for services from that specific market. In the year 2012, we had 118 calls for service at the location, and 21 of those emanated from the actual store itself. And those crimes range from robberies to thefts to drunken public type calls. There are over 462 ABC licensed locations within Olympic area, and so we are opposed to opening or renewing any more ABC licenses there. And if there's any specific questions, I have Captain Nieto and Sergeant Vincent.
Okay, it's my understanding that I accidentally demoted you.
That's okay.
Okay, Harry has informed me that it's Commander Cato. Okay,
Sir,
so
I was a captain as of September and just became commander, so that's okay.
well, okay. So anyway, Commander, I appreciate that. Okay, now if you guys could stay around just for a few moments, John Walsh and Mr. Dude.
Thank you very much, officers. You see, everything is by division. This division, Olympic division, does the job. In Hollywood, we have a captain who is in bed with
Mr. President, he's not talking about this
in
item.
bed with the drug dealers.
Item 13, Mr. Walsh.
I'm talking
15.
about.
I
I'm talking
understand.
about now, public convenience and necessity. Okay, you're right. Every time you open one of these places, the crime rate goes up. That used to just be my psychotic ravings. Now the captain is saying the same thing I did.
Commander, he's commander. You demoted him just like I did.
Commander,
John.
I think she should be commander. But if you keep going against these liquor licenses, you'll never be promoted. Okay, let's start with who is Fresh and Easy. It's a Canadian corporation, isn't it? It's about to go bankrupt. It's out of control. And what neighborhood is this in? This is in Little Korea. Now, the people in Little Korea would not allow this to happen in their neighborhood, and they went to the LAPD, and the LAPD is doing something about it because our friends, our American friends in Little Korea know how to fight drug dealing, and they know how to fight alcohol. And when you put alcohol in a neighborhood, you're destroying it. And this, go to the Fresh and Easy in Hollywood. Do you think there's no crime in the Fresh and Easy in Hollywood? I'm telling you right now, The only way you can stop a license is for a commander to come up here. That's how much the industrial alcohol industrial complex controls the politicians here. And someday in your neighborhood, somebody's going to get raped. We have 6% high rape. It's gone up 6% in this county.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Dude?
Well, housing is my issue, but alcohol is your issue. See, you allow alcohol and you prohibit other substances. How can we stop a hypocritical society that will allow some substances that are super harmful to exist, to be licensed, to be an industry? You have made an industry out of homelessness and alcohol. And alcohol and homelessness go along pretty side by side. If you go out on the streets, you will notice that a lot of the homeless are alcoholics. Where do they get their alcohol? From the city. You are the thugs. You are the thugs. You
Boy,
have a license.
you are skirting on the edge of relevancy where it relates to that. Okay. But I guess he stayed within the loosely interpreted, right? Okay. Mr. Zine. Mr. Zine?
Yes, sir. Just signing the resolution here. I just wanted to say when a commander of the Los Angeles Police Department comes here with a captain and a sergeant, it tells me that there's obviously a problem at that particular location. It's seldom do we see that type of response to a situation like this. So I would say that with the respect that we have for the public safety and law enforcement, I'm very impressed with their testimony, and I want to thank you for coming down and showing that support. I know Olympic Division is a relatively new division in the city of Los Angeles compared to the other places, but the fact is they're responding to the needs of the community. So I just wanted to put that on the record, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mr. Alarcon.
Yeah, normally we wouldn't speak that much about this issue, but I think Mr. Walsh's comments really deserve some explanation. First of all, the ability of the city of Los Angeles to deny permits like this is difficult, and the reason is that it's driven by state law, where we have to make findings that there is a danger or some safety problem. In this particular case, they certainly meet the standard of what is known as the Caldera area. Luis Caldera, the former senator and former commander-in-chief, or not commander-in-chief, excuse me, the in charge of all our military, the chair of our armed forces, wrote this legislation that required that if there were areas with high concentrations of crime and other kinds of negative impacts on the community, then they could, then the cities would have more flexibility in denying permits. That's why some council members, while they would like to deny a permit, are frankly handcuffed from doing so because of state law. And in this particular case, it meets the standard. But anytime the police department comes in and makes a statement, that in and of itself is evidence of a problem in a community. So with that, it's I want to commend Mr. Wesson, Council President Wesson, for recognizing that and denying and working to deny this particular permit.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Labange.
Olympic Division and West Bureau for all they do all the time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, and I too want to thank Olympic for the commander, the captain, the sergeant. I think your presence says an awful lot today. Okay, Mr. Clerk, so we have do you need to give an explanation?
No, sir, only that 15A, substitute motion 15A is now before council. They must first vote on whether or not to substitute 15A, and then if in fact that does pass, to actually vote on the matter. Motion 15A, motion Wesson Alarcon, is a Motion to deny the appeal.
Deny the application.
Application, rather.
Okay, so first we vote on the substitution.
Correct.
So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, now we will actually vote on the, so let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
So that's been denied, right, Mr. City Attorney?
That's
okay.
correct.
Again, thank you again for coming down. All right, let's move to item 14. Item 14 was held special by cards. Jim McQuiston, please come forward. It's my understanding that Mr. Walsh is out of time. He still has his general public comment, though. Okay, Daniel Jones and Dow House Dude. Yes, Jim.
Jim McQuiston. I come to you as a committee member of the Street Services on Sidewalks. I've given you all a statement on this that's very specific. You can look this up on Google if you want. It's very easy to do. We did this all the time until 1976 when the president gave us the money and we decided not to. But according to the laws, we're supposed to charge these people. Now, you can approve this. There's no problem with that. But there's a string attached. You have to let them try to fix it themselves first by notice. Obviously, we have a list of where these sidewalks need to be repaired. Send them a list. If they don't do it themselves, then the city can do it and add it to their property taxes. And that's the way the state law says, and that's the way the municipal code says. And we save $20 million in the budget by doing this. And that is something that we need right now.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Well, here, Mr. Dude, you're there. Come on, Mr. Dude, you're right there.
Yes, we can actually fix everything. We, the people, can fix everything, but we have to be unified in our efforts. If you solve homelessness, you will be able to...
Stay on the topic.
Yeah, I know. You'll be able to repair the sidewalk.
Stay on the topic, okay?
Right? They are part of housing, right?
Not sidewalks. Just keep going. So this is regarding sidewalk repair. Stay on the subject.
I know, sidewalk repair.
Then stay on that
subject. The people can repair the sidewalks if they're allowed to do so. You know? People can repair their own sidewalk and send you the bill. And then the sidewalks will be fixed. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jones.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Jones. The reason why I'm against this item is because, number one, they're kind of robbing Paul to pay Peter here. They're robbing Council 3 of $100,000 to put in another fund. I don't know why it's coming from a district city council fund. $900,000. It's coming from confiscated redevelopment properties. I'm just disagreeing as to the funneling of it from straight to the building and safety fund, which out of $1 million. See, it says, you know, the first $900,000 is a deflection, and then less than 1/4% of the whole request is actually going for anything they're actually building. Everything else is to pay for what's already inside the building. I mean, why does the building and safety fund need to be increased when it's already there? And then on top of that, Council 3, district, whatever money that they can pull together, like they did yesterday for the parks down at Gladys Park. What are you doing, Robert Paul to pay Peter? Come on, people. I got you on general politics. Trust me, I got you from yesterday.
Okay,
$32 million.
Thank you.
Y'all gave me the answer.
No, you have to stay on this subject for now. Okay, Mr. Zine, did you want to say something?
Just briefly, this is salary savings. This is $12.90 money that we put together. with a project to try and enhance those sidewalks in the district. We've worked with the city attorney's office, the areas where we've had claims, slip and falls, etc. So this is a matter that we're moving forward with the city crews to improve those sidewalks. Mr. Alarcon was very successful in his district doing it, and we're trying to do is improve the quality of life. But this is salary savings, 1290 money for this $1 million program, which will help the community of the 3rd District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Okay, now let's vote on this item. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we now have 12 members, so can we vote, let's say, on reconsideration of the ordinances?
Yes, sir. Those would be items 3, 4, 5, 6, and 13. 3,
Okay.
4, 5, 6, and 13.
This vote is for reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we'll actually vote on the item itself. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now let's move on to item 7, which was held special for Ms. Perry by Mr. Parks. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I'm very grateful that we have a number of speakers here today, and I think they've submitted cards, but I would like to say a few words before they speak and then get out of the way. In the wake of the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School, I believe, and I'm sure you share that view there, that there is a critical need for a national dialogue on actions we can take to better protect all of our communities from gun violence. This tragedy has put again into the spotlight a problem that exists in our city every day, and that's the proliferation of assault weapons and high-caliber ammunition. Having represented South Los Angeles, as some of my colleagues have on the council, for the last 11 years, I have had the very sorrowful or sad experience of attending funerals of men, women, and children who have been killed on our community. And even though violent crime has been on the decline, no amount will ever be acceptable. So I wanted to try a different approach. So when I introduce this motion that is before you today, to ask the city to consider divesting from any company or corporation that produces, manufactures, sells, or markets assault weapons, high-volume ammunition magazines, high-caliber ammunition, and related equipment. I introduced this motion, and Mayor Villaraigosa has also voiced his support, submitting letters to our 3 retirement systems: the Los Angeles City Employees Retirement System, or LACERS, the Los Angeles Fire and Police Pensions, and the Water and Power Employees Retirement Plan, asking them to look into their holdings to determine what, if any, investments they have in the makers of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. LACERS has responded, and the Board of Water and Power Pension System is hearing this motion next Wednesday. I do look forward to a response from our fire and police pension system. As a city, we have an opportunity to make a very bold statement that we will not fund industries that support or produce assault weapons. Through this simple yet meaningful act, we are sending a substantive signal on where we stand as the 2nd largest city in the nation, and that we will not use our resources to fund the purchase and sale of these kinds of weapons. So with that, if you would allow the speakers to speak.
Thank you. Well, now I'll go to the other members first. We've already satisfied the public comment, but I think this is such an important issue that we will get to the public that's here as well. But I'd like to call on Mr. Koretz, followed by Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Labange, if you could come to the chair. Mr. Koretz.
I just want to thank Ms. Perry for bringing this forward and to ask if LACERS responded to the mayor's letter and actually identified any companies that they'd suggest divestment from. Yeah.
We don't have a copy of the letter down here, but we did. They have responded. Okay, I'm sorry. I do have it right here. I don't know if everybody else has a copy of it. All right, I have a copy of it, and we can send it around. And it does have gun and magazine companies. It lists the names, and the market value is $240,000. Ammunition companies, looks like it's total 6.7 million. Retailers, it's quite a bit.
Sounds great. Well,
I'll make sure that everybody has a copy of this.
great. And thank you again for bringing this forward.
Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, I want to thank Ms. Perry on this. You know, I go back to 1968. I was with Bobby Kennedy when he got shot. We started this whole gun thing then, and we never are going to give up on that issue. I thought it was beautiful when this city council divested itself in its strategy with South Africa when it came to apartheid. This is an effort to use the economic lever to play a position that makes sense. So this does put us on record in a very strong way. It's a very difficult battle. There's many attitudes on this thing, but if we can take money away from this strategy, that might have some impact on what we regulate and what we don't regulate as guns. Thank you, Jan, for your leadership.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. I'd like to call on Lorraine Marlin to speak. Maria Garcia. Margot, is that correct? Margaret Bennett, thank you so much. And Daniel Healy, thank you.
Hello, my name is Lorraine Moreland, sir, and I'm here with the Women Against Gun Violence. I've been in this room twice for two sons that got killed on the streets of Los Angeles. And it's a devastating situation, and it's very painful even today. One was in 2001 and 2007, killed by guns on the streets of where they was raised, where I changed their diapers, where they ran around and they knew everybody in town. And then other people come, rivals, and they have their guns and different things, and they use it to fight. Long time ago, kids would just fight with their hands or something like that, but now they use guns to kill our children, and we need to put a stop to it. I also support Jan in her motion and everything that she does. She's such a wonderful woman, and she has a heart of gold to help this situation grow in a certain situation. I also found out that a lot of movies are carrying a lot of guns and teaching kids how to use them as well, which is not very good for us either. But we need help, and we are here to get that help. And if we can stand together, we can make a change in our world, because I don't think anyone wants to get that phone call that your child is gone by a gun. We need help, and if we stand together and be together, we can make it happen.
Thank you, Lorraine, very much. Maria?
Buenos días, nosotros somos de la comunidad de Dolores Mission y también pertenecemos a LA Voice.
Good morning.
Use the main mic.
Good morning. We're from the Dolores Mission community, and we also belong to LA Voice.
Estamos aquí hoy para apoyar la propuesta de la concejal Jan Perry y el concejal Park.
We're here today because we're in support of Councilwoman Perry and Councilman Park's motion.
Para que los fondos no sean usados para que los fondos de las pensiones de la ciudad sean quitados de las compañías que fabrican armas de asalto. De alto calibre.
And we are here to ask that the pension funds of the city be taken away or eliminated from the companies that manufacture high caliber weapons and the ammunition magazines at high volumes.
Porque nuestras comunidades sufren las consecuencias. Tenemos bastante violencia en nuestra comunidad de Boyle Heights.
Because our communities are the ones that pay the consequences or suffer the consequence. There's a lot of violence in our community of Boyle Heights.
Familias que se ven afectadas por esta violencia, ya sea por un miembro, inocentes que están muriendo día con día.
A lot of families are greatly affected by this violence, either family members or other acquaintances who are dying due to this armed or weaponry violence daily.
Queremos prevenir lo que pasó en la escuela de Sandy Hook, que no queremos que vuelva a repetirse, que ninguna otra familia sufra ningún dolor a causa.
We want to prevent the tragedy that happened at Sandy Hook Elementary. We don't want this suffering to be felt by any other family in our community.
No queremos que ninguna otra familia sufra el dolor de la pérdida de un ser querido. Por favor, apoyen la propuesta de la concejal Jan Perry.
We don't want any other family to suffer this terrible pain. Therefore, we're here to ask you to please support Jan Perry and Councilmember Park's motion.
Juntos podemos hacer la diferencia. Gracias.
Together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Garcia. Ms. Bennett?
My name's Margot Bennett, and I'm the Executive Director of Women Against Gun Violence. In the United States, each and every day, over 1,000 people are directly affected by gun violence. Suicides, homicides, unintentional shootings, assaults. That doesn't count the family members and the communities that are grieving over the loss. Los Angeles City has been at the forefront of stemming this epidemic and is a model for cities throughout our nation. We commend Councilmember Perry and Councilmember Parks for once again putting Los Angeles City in a leadership role and support their motion to divest the city monies which may be vested in the gun industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have Daniel Healy.
Good morning, council members. I'm here on behalf of the Violence Prevention Coalition of Greater Los Angeles. We're a coalition of over 80 community and faith-based organizations that are working to reduce violence in Los Angeles. And I'm here to support Councilwoman Perry's weapons divestment motion. We're experiencing an epidemic of gun violence in this country. It's a leading cause of morbidity and mortality for our young people, particularly our young men of color under the age of 44. It's the leading cause of death for that group. Investing in companies that produce high-capacity ammunition magazines and assault weapons is not in alignment with our values. We need to know where our money is going. Let's protect children, not gun manufacturers. We need to do all we can to prevent such senseless tragedies. Thank you for considering this motion, and thank you, Councilwoman Perry, for your courageous leadership on putting this motion forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the public speakers. Ms. Perry, do you want to close?
Yeah, it's, as I'm just reviewing the numbers here, and I hope you'll take a very close look at the LACERS report that has been published on ammunition companies. It totals $6.7 million. The retailers, we have quite a bit of money, and I'm waiting for the other ones. I think that what we'll do is put this out on Facebook so that people can actually see it and understand the ramifications of what I hope we're about to do here today and how significant and dramatic it will be to divest from companies who do this, to send them a very, very strong message that we will not accept this anymore. Thank you for coming out today, ladies and gentlemen.
Ms. Perry, thank you. Mr. Parks and all of you. So no other speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes, so ordered. Next item. John.
Mr. President, that brings us to general public comment.
All right, thank you very much. Lorraine, good to see you as always. You look fabulous. I love you. All right, let's have Antonio Ramirez come forward right now for public comment. Henry, you're next, Henry. Come up to the queue. Thank you. Public comment.
Here's
a partial list of Latino, Hispanic, dirty, racist bulldog gangbangers in uniform who arbitrarily and deliberately misinterpret the Penal Code manual and maliciously contribute to the violations, abuses, bullying, invasion of privacy, and violence against innocent, legal law-abiding citizens, military veterans, homeless military veterans, pilots, and their respective families, thereby violating public safety, health, and welfare. Thus, they fail to enforce the rule of law against these criminal wetbacks and violent Chango gangbangers, because they too are wetbacks and gangbangers in uniform. So it's only natural that they will serve and protect their co-felons. Consequently, we have an out-of-control criminal empire like the jungle all throughout Latin America. That's why they're all moving here to America. Had the federal farts, the FBI, done its job, we would not have had these criminal illegals in uniform. Here's a partial list of these Latino, Hispanic, dirty, racist bulldog gangbangers in uniform from the corrupted and scandalous Rampart Police Department. They are Officer Gutierrez, J. Gutierrez, badge 37335, Officer V. Villanueva, Officer I. Chaparro, Officer A. Ramos, Officer Espinosa, P. Espinosa, then Sergeant P. Guillen, and Sergeant J. Sanchez. And again, and this is at a high crime and risk area, and that is run by the wicked slumlord Francis G. Smith, and the address where the crimes are continuously occurring are 245 South Lucas Avenue, Los Angeles, California, 90026. And several of the culprits are Vicky Cooper and Alicia Limes, etc. And I'd like to also thank Officer Tim Bradley downstairs. He's an ex-Navy boy. Bravo to that LAPD officer downstairs. And I'm voting for Gil Garcetti. Thank you.
Thank you. You won't find his name on the ballot, but that's okay. It's Eric Garcetti. Henry, step up here. Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Mr. Huizar.
Can I ask our city attorney to advise this council whether the word wetback is considered hate speech and whether that is allowed as a freedom of speech, or can we allow or make some points to the speaker about continuously to use that term in these chambers? Thank you.
The issue is whether it causes a disruption under Ninth Circuit jurisprudence.
Mr. Krikorian.
Of the meeting going on from people calling out in the audience. The last speaker is calling out profanities, and I would like it noted that she's disrupting the meeting.
And continue to disrupt, please. Do not disrupt. Okay. Any more comments? We're going to ask you to go on your way. Henry, your turn.
Yes, this is Zippity Doodah Day. 43 years ago, I got my DD 214, and everything was actual, factual, and satisfactual. However, I never thought I'd be here in front of the city council showing y'all how to account for my GI time of others than me. But unfortunately, the city controller agreed to take money from others than me and divert from public employee pension and benefit plans and hold 10% for the city and put the remainder in union bank accounts. Instead of Wendy Grew going around getting money from unions that she contributed to them in the first place, she should be performing her grueling task of accounting for the time and money of others than me. My accounting of the matter is from 1993, $2.40 represents 10%, $2.40, 94, $2.48, 95, $2.48 an hour, 2000, $2.64 an hour, $2.67 an hour in 01, $2.73 an hour in 02, and a whole lot more shown thanks to Karen Sisson. She put the amount that the city was holding on an ongoing basis online and resigned. She didn't want to be responsible for that stuff. Marcus Allen, he didn't want to be responsible for that stuff. You found somebody who's dumb enough to do it. You never see the devil in the mirror because he always gets the fool to do his work. Now, where's our lady running here for mayor? She should be demanding the motion second that Wendy Grew start counting for the time and money of others and me on behalf of Lacers and Purrs. Thank you.
John Walsh, please come forward. Mr. Dude, please be seated orderly.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. I'll go to front page online. We have a special guest here, Mr. Melrose Larry Green, ran for mayor, spoke in front of the city council many times. He almost won the election. Thank you for coming. I'd like to see progressives. We are progressives for Zion. We are progressives for Trutanich. Even if you don't like them, hold your nose and vote for them. They're better than the others. Mr. Garcetti, not here. He is out. He wasn't at the meeting raising money. I'm telling you right now, the election has turned. Remember, the psychotic ravings from John Walsh today, you will see in the LA Times a week from now. I proved that on Osama bin Laden at Vine Street Theater in the instance of Muslims. 80,000 requests on the entries on the website, on the World Wide Web. Okay, when Barbara Boxer got up and said, electing Wendy Gruhl will be historic, she turned the election, and it will be historic. Because if Wendy Gruhl loses, if Perry loses, she's not here, and if Ana Kubas loses, who has a chance to win as a city councilwoman, on July 1st, we will have no women in the city of Los Angeles in government. We will be on this equal footing with the municipal governments of Saudi Arabia, the only two places in the world without women in the government, because you up here are, in fact, sexist. I'd like to point out that another rape in Hollywood, who gives a damn, right? If it was a white woman, you'd care, but again, it was a minority. And I'd just like to say that as far as Rick Perry is concerned, he continues with his ads attacking the city of Los Angeles, and not one of you will stand up to him. But Mr. Rosenthal, he's awfully cute. He's awfully cute.
For the record, Mr. Garcetti, along with other members, are formally and properly excused from this meeting. I'd like to call on Mr. Jones.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Jones. Mr. Perry, I would like to congratulate you on that motion. This is an example of how government is dealing with the problem last. In my mind, and I really do think this is my opinion, for the court of public opinion out there, hello everybody. My question is why not, if you're going to go for the gun money, go for the toy guns. Let's stop the initiative, let's stop the incentive to pick up a gun to begin with. Really. Because it would make the corporal's job and everybody else's job eventually a lot easier to control guns in the nation if we stop the urge to begin with. I never touched a weapon until the United States government handed me it in boot camp by United States Marine. Thank you for the clocks that are running downstairs. I appreciate that. Freedom of free speech downstairs, they're trying to change the Brown Act. They're trying to say you don't need an ID inside this room, but somehow you're supposed to transfer from the threshold there to the threshold to the door with an ID. That's police intrusion. That's suppression of free speech because they're not even getting in. The police are writing themselves into the rule. I looked at it last night. The retirement plan for $32.5 million. This is the object lesson, ladies and gentlemen, out there in TV land. You come back the next day. There are clarifications. Alicone said, okay, in the backup. The Alicone gave you the answer. There's 4 justifications why you don't do it. Alicone said government creating a nonprofit was a disaster. He said that. Mr. Parks said was trying to control the, who controls the money, the city or the public. Well, you don't give nonprofit organizations $32 million to begin with. You give them $1. If they make 2, they make profit. Stingray. That's going to come back to bite you all in the ass.
Yeah, thank you very much. Franco from ITA, would you check the mic to make sure, and then maybe have a way for the speakers to not bang into the mic for the sound system? Mr. Bobby Cooper. And Sergeant, before the next speaker, I have a card, but I have no understanding of the name. Could you help me if you get a minute?
Yes, gentlemen.
Mr. Coop?
Yes, Bob Cooper, company Mimar Sample Services, Mimar Sexy Fashions. Sir, I'd like to give you some information. I'm having a lot of problems with the district attorney's office. The district attorney lost his case in the class action suit with regards to these same issues. I've come in through bad checks, slanderous allegations, identity theft. I need to get into my business, and I need to get into my accounts. You people have the empowerment on paper downstairs at the clerk's office. I'd appreciate it if you let me in my business. I built that business 13 years ago. You have no right to stop my bank accounts. You have no right to tamper with my family. I mean, what is it here? I go to the district attorney's office and he makes a threat on my life. Tells me if I don't get out of there, something could happen to me. If I don't get out of the district attorney, he lost his case, he's not mailing out the applications, he's not in compliance with the court order. He lost his case. He's supposed to notify all these people that were in on the class action suit, but he's not. He's mailing out erroneous information and threatening my life when I come up to comply with the court. The court told me to go get the application to file my claim. I don't want $75 a check. You ruined my business and my life with this identity theft and use of my name. Now, I'd like to get into my office now. It's over, this part of it. Now, the feds can take the next part of it. Thank you for returning my family to me. I saw my family yesterday, my Latino family. I appreciate that. But now I need to get back to work into my business. I'm losing thousands of dollars a day. And you know as well as I do that there'll be a levy or some type of lien on the city if I don't get into my office. I make $300,000. What is it? I get $300,000 an episode for the film that they messed up, the equipment that they destroyed.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Juan Dude.
A lot of issues here. This lady calling everybody legal aliens. I mean, no human being in the world will ever be illegal. I don't know where she got the notion that anybody can be illegal. And I don't appreciate being called a wetback, even though I do take showers. Anyway, housing for everyone. Why are we gun violence? Gun violence is around because we have borders, because we have to protect each other's property. The Constitution gave us the right to have weapons in this country for a good reason. We don't want a police state like Hitler taking the guns away from everybody and the people not being able to defend themselves. Unfortunately, a lot of people go cuckoo because they don't know which way to turn. They're always accosted by all kinds of bills from the city, from the state, from the country, from the nation. They don't know which way to go. We need to end homelessness around the world. We need to erase borders around the world. And the biggest thugs are the government. How many people get killed by the U.S. Army or by any other army in the world every day? See, let's talk about the whole world, not just the city of LA, not just the United States of America. The whole world needs big changes. We need to eliminate guns from every single corner of the earth.
Final speaker for today's public comment, one of the fine constituents of the 4th District, Melrose, Larry Green.
Thank you for that great introduction. Do I get 2 minutes?
You get 2 minutes, Larry.
Because this is like a Howard Stern thing. I want to make sure I get my 2 minutes. How are you? First of all, it's great to be here. And I just want to say for my first 40 seconds why I'm here. I work on Hollywood Boulevard, and I'm in the tour business. I sell tours, and I know you're concerned about regulating the tour business, but on every single block from La Brea down to about Vine, it says no skateboarding. There are signs posted, no skateboarding. And I know it's being enforced a little bit by the LAPD, and the captain is overstaffed, the captain in the Hollywood division, and we're writing some tickets, but every day I see tourists coming up to me and saying, why don't you do something about the skateboarding? They come close to tourists. The Walk of Fame is like a museum to me. I think you'd agree with me, all of you. And you guys spend so much money on bringing in tourism into Hollywood. So I would appreciate if you could do anything you could to get the senior lead officers to write more skateboarding tickets, no skateboarding, impound them like cars, and if all else fails, use the old sledgehammer. That's right, break them. Now, I've used up my 40 seconds now. I've gotten that. Everybody understand that? Anybody? No skateboarding is posted. Let's either take the signs down or enforce it. Now, it's great to see Bill Rosendahl. Bill, I pray for your well-being. I remember, it's like yesterday when I did your TV show at Century Cable when I ran for mayor in 1993. And Joe Buscaino, welcome. I haven't been down here to welcome you. I know you're from Feast of San Gennaro. Richard Alarcon, you ran for mayor also in 93. And you're all friends of mine. And I don't want to get into the mayor's race because they're all four great candidates. And the one that I'm backing, he knows who he is. But they're all great, and there couldn't be a better field. Unfortunately, the guy I really wanted to run is sitting up there. But maybe someday I'll get Tom LaBonge in the mayor's office. Anyway, thank you all very much for the great honor. One of the councilmen got to me. I thought I did something wrong. His aide's a fan of mine from Howard Stern. Thank you very much.
Larry, thank you for being an ambassador to our tour community. We're looking at that. Mr. Garcetti is working on that issue as well. Thank you. That concludes our public comment for this day. Mr. Clerk, what else is before us?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
The desk
Any
is clear.
announcements? Any announcements? We have no announcements. Mr. Weezar.
Thank you, Mr. President. February, Spay and Neuter Month, and please get your pets spayed and neutered. The Take Me Home Rescue and Social Compassion, along with the Salesian Boys and Girls Club, have joined forces to offer free spay and neutering surgeries in Ball Heights on February 9th. Dog Whisperer Cesar Milan and Dancing with the Stars Judge Carrie Ann Enaba will be there in celebration. Again, February 9th at the Salesian Boys and Girls Club in Ball Heights. For anyone who wants more information, can call 424-214-6320. We would prefer that people make an appointment. 424-214-6320. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The announcement that I would have, Mr. Miller, just to remind everybody, the 42nd anniversary of the tragedy at 601 of the earthquake that struck Sylmar in the San Fernando Valley and all of that. Remember that, Richard? You were probably in high school at that time. First day of student body president, you shook him up there at St. Genevieve's or Poly? The only one who went to school. That's why you're here today, because you didn't. But listen, all setting aside, remember preparedness is so key. There will be another earthquake in our fire departments and police department. Emergency preparedness is key. I just wanted to make that message. With no other announcements now, sergeants, we're going to stand for adjourning motions. All please rise for adjourning motions. Joe. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I know you knew Dory Pye as well as I did. This is for Dory Pye. Colleagues, it is with great sadness to announce that Dory Pye passed away Tuesday, January 29th. She was 86 years old. Among her many roles, Dory will be most notably remembered for her leadership of the Los Angeles Business Council. She retired as president of the LA Business Council in May of 2001 after 32 years of exemplary service. Then known as the West LA Chamber of Commerce, Dory took over the struggling organization of less than 100 merchants in 1969 and transformed it into a world-class business association with over 900 members. As president of the group, she was the voice for Los Angeles business community. With her strong demeanor, persuasive logic, and general savvy, she helped boost to the cause and strengths the voice of her fellow members. Dory has also served on the boards of numerous community and professional and charitable organizations, including the Southern California Association of Chamber Executives, the American Heart Association, the Los Angeles International Airport Advisory Committee, and Habitat for Humanity, among many others. Aside from being a distinguished business and community leader, Dory was hosting a syndicated television program called Inside LA, which was one of our joyous moments over at Century Cable and things we did together like that. She interviewed individuals from all walks of life, delved into LA's strongest issues, and helped uncover the city's special idiosyncrasies. Dory was a charming and energetic promoter of community. Improvement projects were a political force, not just for the West Side, but for all of Los Angeles. Councilman Marvin Browdy described her as a tremendous, energetic, and bright with broad vision. Mayor Tom Bradley simply described her as a dynamo. She had the power to unite corporate leaders and government policymakers over issues ranging from regional growth to international trade. Dory is survived by her son, Ken. I spoke with Dory a couple of weeks before she passed. Her son put her on the phone to me. And I got to thank you, Ken, for being a first-class caregiver for your mother. She lived a lot longer and more pleasantly thanks to your support of your mother. And also she leaves 2 grandchildren. A celebration of life ceremony will be held for Dory on February 12th at 2:30 at the former Regency Club space at 10900 Wilshire Boulevard in Westwood. Dory was an extraordinary woman, a dear friend, and will be truly missed. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you,
all members.
All members, of course, on that, for Dory. Seeing no other adjourning motions, let's go on and serve the city of Los Angeles well, and every day's a blessing. This meeting's adjourned.